Be right with us.
Alrighty. Do appreciate your patience, everyone. OBS is always a fun piece of software. It loves to give problems here and there. But no need in hanging everyone up. Let's go ahead and get it moving today. First off, thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. As always, we're here to answer all of your questions and just provide some more insight into kind of what's been happening over here at Subspace. Today with us, we have Todd, Arthur, and myself. Arthur is actually our Director of Product Engineering, who joined us here pretty recently. And he is going to be diving into some of the things that the development team has been working on over these past few weeks. But as always, feel free to raise your hands or ask questions in the office hours chat if you have any questions during our discussion today. And beyond that, I think I'll give it away to you, Arthur.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you. Finally, glad. Thanks for inviting me, Justin and Todd, onto the office hours today.
Of course, we're happy to have you.
So yeah, just wanted to give you guys an update on our R&D updates. So if you guys seen, recently we just started up again our R&D updates. You can check that out on our Medium blog post. But to give you all a quick rundown of what's been happening. So team's been incredibly busy. So going from our Subspace core protocol, we've done a lot of work to kind of improve a lot of the whole experience for both nodes and farmers. So for example, we've done things like improving our fasting for the nodes, which is going to improve the performance and for people running the nodes to sync to the chain better. For the farmer side, there's a lot of improvements that we made all around the farming experience. We've released our first version of the distributed storage network. Pardon me. This allows us to kind of like help the farmers sync a lot better with their plots. And overall, this is going to improve their experience with plotting times, less memory overhead, and overall just better, efficient ways to kind of just sync with the network. We've also started doing work towards our light client implementation. So the light client is going to enable us to really just enable a lot of more features, especially like a browser client feature. And the other big ones are going to be our pluggable network support. That's going to help us unlock a lot of key scalable upgrades for this network. And finally, we have the Arch64 support, which is for people with the Mac M1s and newer processors or Ubuntu. This is going to be great for you all. On the Subspace desktop side, we've had OpenCL support previously in the monorepo. So now desktop clients are able to get access to OpenCL. And overall, a lot of the focus for our Subspace desktop is that as we're going into our incoming security audit, we're doing everything we can to make sure that we refactor it, improve stability, and add automated testing to kind of just improve that whole stability and experience. And for people that really do a lot of updates, like we have an auto update feature coming in now, so we should make that whole upgrade experience a lot more seamless. On our external party ecosystem side, if you guys haven't used already, we have something called Subwallet. The Subwallet team has released a new feature, and shout out to the Subwallet team for getting this out for 056, their wallet that now has Subspace network support. So go check it out. It's subwallet.app. You can check out their website and download, and you can start interacting with the Subspace network via this a wallet. And then finally, for the contributor side, our own very own Nazar has released a contributors guide on the repository. Again, you can check out the R&D link, see where that's at. But this is going to be a great way for folks that want to come in and see if they want to contribute to the code base. Like you can take a look at the contributors guide to kind of get a general sense of how do you be more a part of the developer side of the process. And finally, we've started releasing our pre-release testing functionality. So for those of you out there that are starting to do pre-release testing for us, come check out the channel on Discord and also the forums. But as we start releasing more features and release cadence, it's going to be great for the community to kind of come in and help us support. So if you want to take a look at how to do it, there's some guides on the wiki on Subspace Desktop to figure out how to do pre-release testing on the desktop software. But you can also check out the forums where we're going to kind of collect a lot of this kind of feedback in the testing topic. So come check that out.
Definitely. Thank you, Arthur. It's a lot of exciting stuff that we've been working on. One thing I know I'm sure the community will be happy to hear is, the fast sync and DSN sync improvements. Obviously the syncing process was a major pain point for the users in the prior versions. So definitely great to hear that that's coming as well. As far as the Subspace desktop, one thing I did want to mention to users as well, if you are someone who's wondering what OpenCL is for, those will be users who have graphics cards. So if you have, a nice gaming computer or even just a server with a nice graphics card or something like that, you will want to download those OpenCL versions. So when you go to download the releases, you'll see, let's say you're on Windows, you'll see the Windows normal one, and then you'll see a Windows OpenCL one. So that'll be the one you want to download if you want to go that route. And on the auto updater, it'll also be much easier for you guys. So, if you already have, you'll have to update to the newest version. But once you've updated to that version of Subspace Desktop, you'll start getting prompts when there's a new release. So kind of a more traditional software flow, where you just open up the program and it goes, hey, there's a new version. Do you want to install it? And then you can just download it right there and not have to go to our GitHub and kind of run through that whole process again. So definitely will be helpful for all you Subspace Desktop users out there. And Subwallet too. I personally think Subwallet is a little bit much better of a experience than the standard Polkadot.js wallet. Just for transparency's sake, we're not fully affiliated with Subwallet. They've just been, another amazing open source company that's been working closely with us. We just happen to have a pretty similar name, obviously because of Substrate. But definitely check out their wallet. It also does support EVM, so like Moonriver and things like that. You can also do on the Polkadot ecosystem with their wallet, which is great to see. On my end, though, we've had some other things that we've been working on the community side. As I'm sure some of you have noticed and some of you have been helping us with, we've also started rolling out localization. So starting to kind of bring, some of those more global languages to our website and hopefully in the future our documentation materials as well. But ultimately, we've been bringing this localization support brought to you crowdsourced directly by the community. To start with, we added 2 languages, Russian and Chinese, and we got those translated with the help of the ambassador team. It was definitely appreciated, and they did an amazing job. But moving forward, we're going to be continuing to add more languages. Here shortly, we'll be adding Ukrainian, Vietnamese, and Turkish, and we'll be sending out some calls to action to those global communities to hopefully get your guys' help translating. If it's just a couple words you want to provide, definitely appreciated. We have a nice portal that can make this pretty simple through Crowdin, which is just a platform to basically translate and localize materials. But currently, it just has our website. In the future, it will have our documentation and hopefully, ideally, like announcements and things like that down the line as well. Beyond that, as you all know as well, we've been working pretty steadily to our testnet process, improve our testnet process rather. So as we all felt with Gemini 1, there was definitely some lessons learned. So we've been really taking some time to improve this process and just trying to think about ways that we can remove some of these headaches moving forward. And obviously, a large majority of that will be done on the development team, but there's also process improvements that we're making to kind of get closer to those steps as well. So for example, a little bit more of the process you can expect as we ramp up to Gemini 2. And keep in mind, we would only move on through these steps assuming there's no major issues or any blockers along the way. But to start with, we're going to start with the simple pre-release testing, as Arthur mentioned. We're already kind of getting that going with the ambassadors, the team, and obviously community volunteers for any of those who would want to participate. Once we get through the pre-release testing, we're just making sure that everything's working out as anticipated, no major issues or anything like that. Then we'll move into what we're calling the pre-Gemini stress test. This is a non-incentivized stress test prior to the Gemini 2. This is effectively going to allow us to ensure that the network can handle just like a large rush of traffic, similar to that we saw on like the launch of previous versions. And this will be the same version, parity version that we'll end up launching on Gemini as well, just making sure that no changes change any of that experience as well. But assuming the stress test goes without a hitch or no major issues at least, That'll bring us right into Gemini 2, which I know you all have been waiting patiently for. But once we get into there, that will be the start of the incentivized testnet phase 2. We'll run through that for some time and then move on to next steps from there, which obviously we'll have some more details as we get closer to that process. But overall, we're getting closer. We're definitely, I'd say within the month, I would expect to see a lot of these announcements start to really come into fruition. So definitely pay attention. All
All
righty, and
great
that's
stuff. All great stuff, Justin. Thanks. I'm really happy that we have Arthur here today. Often, when we're doing this, we get some, a little more technical questions, or maybe something to do more with the engineering side. And I would just encourage everyone that this is the time to ask those questions. That's why Arthur's here. So, if there's anything you'd like to know, as one of our lead engineers, obviously he has a lot of insight into what's going on that side of the project. So this would be a great time to ask those questions. And again, if you have one, please just raise your hand, or you can type it in the chat. Um, a few announcements. We are doing a community survey in an effort to learn more about the kind of content that we give you, whether it be in office hours or through our notifications or events, or some of the announcements that we send out. It would really help us a lot to be able to understand who our audience is. We know we have a lot of developers. We know we have some people using various operating systems, and where you're located, and that's all very valuable for us. We can use that to kind of craft our communications so that they're more valuable to you. So we are going to be sending out a community survey, and this will be posted tomorrow in announcements, I believe. Justin, is that correct?
correct. Yeah, we'll be posting that into the announcements channel with the link and everything for that survey.
Great. And that is really going to help us to kind of improve the content, again, that we're giving you, whether it be through electronic means like email, or things that we're posting in our channels, or through office hours. So please do take the time to fill that out. Over the next month, moving on to next steps, as Justin had mentioned, we're going to be focused on the launch of the Gemini 2 testnet, which we're very excited about. As Justin mentioned, we are really hoping that this is all going to take place within the next month. We're getting very close, but of course, we want to make sure that we're able to include all the valuable features that Justin and Arthur were just talking about. So, thank you for your patience, and we look forward to having you join us there. We're also going to be continuing the onboarding and the introduction of the latest cohort of Subspace ambassadors. Please keep for announcements, because we will be, of course, publishing when we're going to be looking for the next cohort of ambassadors, as well as onboarding the current apprentice ambassadors, getting them into ambassador status. There's a lot happening there. And I would think that Diana will get back on again soon, and she will give us another update when there's more to share. But of course, it's very exciting. Our ambassador team has been growing, and she's doing a fantastic job of building up that side of the project. So shout out to Diana. Great work there. Few other updates that we have. There'll be more details published soon on our new Subspace version 2 consensus. And Justin, maybe that warrants a little more color. Version 2 consensus, and maybe a little bit about what that entails, or even Arthur. I guess we don't have to get too technical, but Subspace version 2 consensus. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So ultimately, the development team and Jeremiah and Nazar and everybody had some lessons learned after our initial version of the initial Gemini and previous stress tests and everything. After some of the key takeaways that they've had from those experiences, they kind of drafted some new plans as far as our consensus goes within Subspace. I would love to give you more details, but to be honest, Jeremiah is being a little secretive about it, so I don't know too much, other than the fact that we do have a new modification of our consensus in the works. Nothing too drastic. I wouldn't expect. It's not like we're switching completely from over to proof of work or anything crazy, but more of just kind of that iterative V2 to our current take. So that should be pretty exciting and hopefully set us up for the future we're hoping to build here at Subspace.
Yeah, and of course, the base level consensus we use is called proofs of archival storage, which is based on hard drives. As most of you would know, if anyone is just joining us, definitely visit the website to learn more about that. Also, coming soon will be the publishing of our meta paper, which will be information about the token and kind of a light paper. We do have the white paper out there, which is a really technical deep dive into the subspace protocol. But this light paper is an attempt to put something out that is more digestible to the general public, and something that will just contain a lot of information, likely in shorter format. So keep your eye out for the meta paper. As always, we are hiring and we are continuing to grow the team. If you are interested, please visit the website and see the job opportunities that are listed there. In addition, we're always looking for people to help moderate and do translations, as Justin said. If you would like to be involved in moderating, possibly in a Discord or something like that, you can obviously do it through the ambassador program. And you can also reach out to Justin or Diana for help as a moderator. But please do check the job board because we are always looking for quality people. If you know somebody, please send them our way. That would be great. Of course, we're continuing to work on planning the community token offering. The timing on that, we cannot give it this time, just because we have a lot to get through with these next iterations of the testnet. But we are continuing to work on that. That is something that we're working on daily, just so everyone knows. It's not as though this has been pushed back, but it just requires obviously a lot of things to take place first. And to that point, the other thing that we've been spending a lot of time on is the setting up of our nonprofit entities in various jurisdictions. Of course, we are going to be divesting our IP is going to go to a foundation. And the foundation is where token genesis will take place. So, Subspace Labs, which is us, the operating company, is essentially going to be donating this. So, this will all be part of the Subspace Foundation. And we are working hard on getting that set up. We'll have more information on that once we have an official announcement, but stay tuned. That's in the background. And I think that wraps up all the announcements I had. At this point, I would throw it back to Justin and of course, see if we have any questions from anyone who's listening, if there's anything you'd like to know. Again, Arthur's here, one of our engineering leads. So this would be a great opportunity to go ahead and ask some of those more technical questions. Justin.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. I know you're the community token offering and the nonprofit entities is kind of something a little bit more in your wheelhouse. I'm sure that's been quite the fun headache of paperwork that you've been going through with that.
It is. And, the biggest thing is timing. Obviously, we're dealing with people in different time zones. Of course, as we said before, I'm in the US, in the Eastern time zone. And, when you're looking to do entities potentially in Europe and Asia, you've got, time swings that can be, 6 to 10 hours in either direction. So trying to coordinate everybody to get together, that has been a challenge. But most of the communication is async, of course, today. So it's interesting, but yeah, things are steaming along. And for the token offering, we are basically set on the process that we're going to follow, but we do need to nail out some details before we can really discuss it. How we're going to structure that through the vendor, what it's going to look like. But of course, everyone knows that that first community token offering is going to be for those people that participated in the previous test nets. So always good to participate.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you, Todd. So bounce back to you for a little bit there, Arthur. I know you've been with the team for some time now, not too long, but just kind of long enough to kind of get familiar and get onboarded and everything. So now that you've kind of gotten your toes wet with Subspace, I'd be curious to know what is it that you are planning on focusing on at Subspace now that you've been with the team for a little bit, and really where do you hope to take the product engineering side of things?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Yeah, that's a great question. It's been great being here so far. I think a lot of the focus right now is like, how do we kind of start expanding our ecosystem and our use cases for like our end users? So, for some example, as we're going through this next network phase, improving our available resources for like things like telemetry or even eventually a block explorer and, as mentioned, a wallet. We want to start providing a lot of these toolings out there for the community to be able to use. Additionally, on the engineering side, like as mentioned, we're starting to like ramp up a lot of this like development. So, doing anything we can do to improve stability, and of course, with the help of the community, figure out like how do we make these releases a lot more stable and much more performant. These are kind of the things that we're focusing on. So like, how do we get a stronger ecosystem involved so that, for the end users, they can be able to participate better and like get a better feel. So those are kind of my high level like goals and directions for it. And as Todd mentioned, still we're growing the team, so definitely looking out for any engineers that are like strong front end or full stack engineers. Definitely like take a look at our job posting and apply.
Definitely, yeah. It's one of the things that I didn't expect going into working at Web3 was how hard hiring is. I've been with Subspace for a while now, and out of all of the challenges we faced, I definitely still think that the largest one is hiring in the crypto space. It's such a unique set of skills that we're looking for in some cases. But at the same time, it's very easy for you to break into if you're maybe someone who's got a lot of projects you've done, but not a lot of professional experience, things like that. Still apply because it's slim pickings out here. So if you've got a particular set of skills that add up to the right thing, you might just make it in.
Yeah, I always like talking about this. Like definitely Web3 is a unique space, and it makes a lot of sense. Like even in this current phase, we're still like early adopters here. But for folks that are like very familiar with engineering experience from Web2 to Web3, I always recommend to them like, hey, give it a shot. Who knows? Like I think you'll find that transition from what you picked up from Web2 like can translate very well into Web3.
Definitely. And on the flip side as well, like personally, I'm someone who doesn't have too much professional Web 2 experience, but I was able to break into Web 3 with just kind of my bag of tricks, if you will, my various different skills. So don't doubt yourself. I know that we mentioned that we're hiring a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you are intimidated by what we're expecting. But even if you're remotely qualified, apply, and you might just make it through. We look forward to seeing those applications. But overall, we've just been continuing to move forward with the team. As always, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out. We're doing our best to kind of level up this office hours as we go through. So if you have any suggestions as well, feel free to toss that out into the chats, as we're always looking forward to new ways to improve and just make this experience a little bit more worthwhile for all of your guys' time. I know it's not easy to make time, especially for those of you, in different time zones around the world and what have you. So we always appreciate it, and we definitely want to hear any feedback. But I don't think we have any questions for today. And beyond that, that was everything that I had prepared. Did you guys have any other topics you wanted to discuss?
Maybe talk about like our future office hours, Justin. This is our first one kind of in the new format. So maybe recap that for anybody who wasn't here last time.
Definitely, yeah. So for those who've been around for a while, you probably remember us doing our office hours on a weekly basis. Initially, it was just kind of a impromptu AMA session that we would do, and over time, we've started to formalize it a little bit more with prepared agendas, guests, and things like this. And as such, we've decided to switch over to a bi-weekly schedule, just so we can have time to prepare a little bit more and make the events a little bit more eventful and contentful as well, rather than just repeating the same announcements over and over. So because of that, we won't have an office hours next week, but we will have one on September 7th. So not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday from there. So definitely look forward to those coming out, but also keep in mind that it will not be on the weekly schedule anymore. So don't look for us next week because we won't be here.
Arthur, there is one last thing I would like to ask, because this is a question that we've gotten quite a bit in the past, and it's something that you touched on, and that's the security audit, the timing of that and what's involved. Obviously, recently, we're constantly hearing about all these exploits in Web3, which unfortunately seem to be predominantly caused by user error, people not protecting their keys and so forth. But in terms of the security audit, not even necessarily the timing, but can you maybe expand on that a little bit about what it's going to involve and the steps that are involved in that, and typically when that takes place in the development process?
Yeah, great question. So, as you mentioned, like this is like quite of a popular thing that occurs in Web3, but security audits are quite a long and arduous process, right? So, from the engineering side, a lot of things that are involved in that is like preparing a lot of documentation and any kind of testing and tooling that we can provide to the security team to kind of make this experience a lot better. So, just a general overview. The security audits, their goal is to come in and pretty much just try to test everything possible to see what's breaks, what could be a vulnerability, and what can be issues. So, specifically for our side, as you can imagine, like we need to do this rigorously on the network side, but even for any kind of the clients that we have as well, specifically like desktop client, we want to make sure that the app works as well, behaves well, and is able to like kind of prevent any kind of vulnerability that can occur. So from a wallet, even when we're talking about wallet and passphrase threat, we want to make sure like that's not going to be able to be leaked out, and we want to ensure that there's no way we can exploit this software in any other means. So for engineers, like any kind of documentation and test suite that can improve that reliability and stability is going to make not only our engineering lives better, but this whole process with the security auditors better as well.
And is that something that's kind of ongoing, or is this something that typically happens like right at the very end? Will this be one of the last steps before launch?
Yeah, so generally, as security audits are generally ongoing, but for each launch, generally you'll do one, and then if there's like a large major change, most individuals will continue to start doing security audits over and over again, right? But the cadence is basically around like feature sets and like any kind of large push.
That's great. Thanks,
Yeah,
Arthur.
and actually, kind of on that same note, one thing to mention on the Subspace desktop side is we actually are going to be entering in a code freeze here shortly. Meaning, so we won't be adding any new features and things like that, and it'll be strictly optimization and improvement focused. And that will probably take some time for them to work through that audit. So just keep that in mind. For any of you who may make suggestions on Subspace Desktop and wondering why they're not being implemented, there's going to be a little bit of a freeze just while they work through that audit there. And then after that freeze is lifted, then we'll start getting more features and things like that added in.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, so we are actually going to do the code freeze actually starting this Friday. So that's going to be our last feature freeze. So anything from this week on, we're going to be merging it in, and pretty much we're buttoning up our the desktop application for our security hour, which is going to be starting around in September.
Definitely. All righty. Well, thank you for everybody for joining us today. As always, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be back on September 7th, 2 weeks from now, with more details and a new guest to be announced here in the future. As always, if you have any questions or any concerns, any feedback, feel free to reach out to me or any of the Subspace staff. We're always happy to hear from you and happy to chat with you guys.
And
Arthur,
please don't
Todd?
forget, don't forget to look for the survey. Again, that will be put in the announcements tomorrow. We would really appreciate all the feedback we can get. And as Arthur mentioned, check out SubWallet. If you are familiar with just how to use MetaMask, a little plugin, it's a really easy way to kind of manage your substrate tokens. So definitely check that out.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Arthur and Todd. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day, and look forward to chatting in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice chatting, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.